For many remote workers, one benefit of working from home is home could be anywhere. Now, that's led to a rise in something called hush trips, where employees slip away for a workcation without notifying the boss. But these quiet getaways may be getting harder to pull off. Jason Wachtel, managing partner at J.W. Michaels & Company, is here to tell us why. So good morning, Jason. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's talk about this. Why are hush trips so popular? I know they might have been a little more popular a couple months ago before all of the employers started saying, hey, all right, you got to be in the office 3 days a week.
Yeah, I think it was much easier to do coming out of COVID, where we were all working remotely, and then some hybrid, where it really didn't matter at the time if you weren't coming to the office, whether you were in Chicago or Florida over the winter. But now that most people are hybrid and there's a push for people to come into the office full time, it's becoming much, much more challenging to be able to sneak away. And also, if you're not careful, it could cost you your job as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. I mean, obviously, there are some benefits from this. You get some extra relaxing time maybe in between the workday, but how can it backfire?
Well, we all know how brutal the winters are in Chicago, and we'd all probably rather be in Florida than Chicago in the middle of January. However, if your company's policies and procedures say you are not allowed to get to work outside of the state of Chicago or state of Illinois, or you have to be in the office, if they catch you in Florida, you can get terminated. So I think the first thing you need to do is check your policies and procedures. If the company has a policy for it, I would make sure you sort of get an approval because, again, nice weather is nice for a weekend, but your career could be more important than that.
Oh, your career is definitely more important than that. All right. What can employers learn from this trend? I think, and just speaking even more broadly about sort of this effort to get more people in the office, I know there's been a lot of employee pushback in various sectors.
So one of the things we did at J.W. Michaels, we used this issue of people wanting to work a little bit, travel a little bit as an advantage. So we offer 2 weeks of working anywhere you want in the country as long as you get approval. So I think as employers, it's still a very tight market, and you want to have the ability to attract the best talent possible. So one of the ways of doing that is allowing people, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, to have the ability to work remotely as long as that person is still able to do their job. If you don't embrace it, there's other competitors in the same industry that you're in that are going to allow that, and you're going to have a really tough time attracting talent and keeping the talent that you have.
You know what? That's a very interesting thing. So instead, you can sort of tack it onto a vacation and be a little more flexible there. So that's nice. If a remote employee is thinking about taking a hush trip, what do they need to keep in mind here?
Well, again, I think going back to the company's policies and procedures, I think that's the first thing. I don't think anything is worth your career. If the company says you are not allowed to do that, my opinion, I wouldn't want to do that. However, if it's really important to you, I would ask to get approval from your manager or your boss and say, this is what you're planning on doing. You're working remotely, and make your case. But I think taking a secret trip and not telling your boss or your employer the consequences outline the positives of, again, enjoying a nice weather for a few days.
And you kind of talked about some of those policies and keeping them competitive. Right now, how is the labor market in terms of, keeping talent in those jobs and talent wanting some flexibility?
Well, it's still, again, contrary to what you read in the news, it's still a very tight labor market. So if you're a talented person, you're going to have a lot of opportunities out there. So if you want to keep people, you have to offer some flexibility. You're seeing companies making a push to go in 5 days a week, BlackRock, Blackstone, all these big tech companies, but they're getting major pushback. So what happens is when you keep getting pushback, there's going to be other employers that are going to say, you know what, those are great people. Let's be a little flexible. Let's pick up some great talent that we might not be able to afford from a financial standpoint. But by offering flexibility, now we're in a position where we could attract some talent that we might not have been able to before. So I think you have to be very careful if you're mandating people to come in the office 5 days a week, because someone else will pick them off.
Yeah, okay. Jason Wachtel, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Great to see you.